Because we have you, I have to ask about the bag story.
Yes.
This occurred because you were on an airplane, is that right?
Yes, I was going to America. I don't know in what interview. They said, you mean Birkin like the bag? So I said, oh, another bag is going to sing. What can I say? And I thought, on my obituary, it will say like the bag or something.
It is so funny that after all this, you might be known for a bag.
I might. Well, could be.
Jane Birkin was not like the other fashion icons. While celebrities were showing off shiny designer bags, Jane walked around with a beat-up straw basket. She didn't care about luxury. She didn't even like handbags. She once said she had never found one that really worked for her. But one day in the early 1980s, something strange happened. Jane was on a plane to London. Her papers and notes kept falling out of her bag. A man sitting next to her noticed and gave her a helpful suggestion. That man turned out to be Jean-Louis Dumas, the CEO of Hermes. Right there on an airplane vomit bag, Jane sketched a rough idea, and that sketch would become the Birkin bag. How does a shy British girl who didn't even like handbags go on to design a $500,000 0-cents icon?
Everything that she needed to carry. And so began the Birkin bag, and this is the very first one. The bag was covered in stickers and trinkets. Look closely and you'll see the remnants of glue. In fact, the bag shows years of wear and tear, so it's far from perfect condition. But it's still the original bag, and it could fetch $1 million. With a bag as incredible and legendary as this, are you expecting that there's going to be a big bidding war?
We are expecting a bidding war.
That's some handbag.
Jane Birkin was born in London on December 14, 1946. Her father, David Birkin, was a spy during World War II. Her mother, Judy Campbell, was a famous actress. Jane grew up around important people, actors, artists, and storytellers. But even with all that glamour, Jane felt out of place. She often said she didn't feel pretty. She thought she looked awkward, especially when standing next to her beautiful mother. At school, life wasn't any easier. Jane was teased for being flat-chested. Some kids even called her names, like Plain Jane. At 17, Jane met a much older man named John Barry. He was 30 years old and already famous for writing the James Bond theme music. Jane was shy and he was confident. They got married quickly. Though her father didn't approve, she married John anyway. And by 19, Jane was a wife and a mother, holding her baby girl, Kate. But deep down, Jane still felt insecure. She thought she wasn't beautiful enough. She was so worried about how she looked that she even slept with eyeliner under her pillow just in case John woke up and saw her bare face. One day, John dared her to do something. He said she would never have the courage to appear nude in a film. Jane wanted to prove him wrong, so she took the role in Blow Up, 1966. The scene caused a huge stir. Suddenly, everyone knew her name. But fame didn't fix things. At home, the marriage was falling apart. Jane had proven she was brave, but she was also deeply unhappy. Jane thought marrying John Barry would be the start of a dream. Instead, it became the start of her heartbreak. One night, he came home drunk. When she asked him where he had been, he calmly said he had gone out with another woman. At first, she thought he was joking, but he wasn't. He told her not to be upset and to go to bed like she was a child. That moment broke something in her. She cried, wandered the hallway, cracked eggs into the sink, and scraped her legs with broken shells. She drank whatever she could find and spiraled into sadness and confusion. Soon after, John left her and their daughter Kate behind in London. He went to chase his career in America. Jane, only 21, was now a single mother with no money, no partner, and no clear future.
Disaster. And I was left with my daughter Kate. And so I thought that I hadn't been capable of holding on to the man I loved.
Yeah.
And that at 19, 20 years old is terrible.
She moved back in with her parents. Many would have given up, but Jane didn't. Something in her was still burning. How does a single mom with no money and no French land a film role in Paris? Not long after hitting rock bottom, Jane took a chance. She heard about a French film called Slogan and decided to audition. She didn't speak much French. She didn't fully understand the script. Still, she threw on a dress and showed up. That's where she met Serge Gainsbourg, the famous French singer and poet known for being wild, difficult, and moody. He had just come out of a dramatic affair with Brigitte Bardot and wasn't looking for a new spark. At their first meeting, Jane nervously mispronounced his name and accidentally called him bourguignon, French for beef stew.
From what I gather, it was not love at first sight.
No. Suddenly I come trundling along, can't speak French, called him bourguignon. It's because I didn't know any other French.
Did you call him that to his face?
Yes. He'd just come out of a very unhappy affair with Brigitte Bardot.
That's got to be slightly intimidating.
No.
No.
I know. I thought, gosh, if he'd been in love with the most beautiful woman in the world, which was Bardot at the time,
Yeah.
and if he could take a look at me, to the contrary.
He wasn't amused. Even after she got the part, Serge seemed distant and annoyed. He didn't want her in the film and didn't bother hiding it. But Jane had an idea. She asked the director to arrange a dinner, hoping to ease the tension. The director agreed, then secretly ditched them so they'd be alone. The dinner was awkward until Jane did something bold. She dragged Serge onto the dance floor. They are what you get when you mix a shy British girl with France's most scandalous poet. Jane and Serge's connection grew stronger after filming Slogan. They became lovers, creative partners, and soon something even more controversial. Serge had written a steamy duet years earlier called Je t'aime, moi non plus. He had recorded it with Brigitte Bardot, but she pulled out, afraid of how it might look. Now he asked Jane to sing it with him. She agreed, partly because she wanted to prove herself, and partly because she still felt jealous of Bardot. What they recorded was soft, breathy, and full of sexual tension. When they released it in 1969, the world reacted quickly, but not kindly. Radio stations banned the song across the UK, Spain, and Italy. In Italy, it caused such outrage that the head of the record label was actually sent to jail for offending public morality.
This restaurant.
We saw all their knives and forks in the air like that. And Serge said, I think we've got a hit record. Then the Pope goes and bans it,
Yeah.
and the BBC.
Yeah.
It was in the bag.
Best publicity you could get.
Can't get better.
But the band didn't stop the song. In fact, they made it more famous. In an unusual twist, the track became the first in UK history to chart twice at the same time, under two different labels. Jane's voice, shy, sensual, and unashamed, turned her into a sensation. Did the controversy hurt her? No, it made her immortal. While other women in the spotlight clutched luxury handbags and wore layers of makeup, Jane Birkin did the opposite. She carried the same simple straw basket everywhere, from nightclubs to red carpets to winter walks in boots and sweaters. She wore white t-shirts, let her bangs fall naturally across her face, and slowly stopped using eyeliner altogether. She had once been afraid to be seen without makeup.
Ah oui, sans problème. Oui. Petit sac aussi? Alors, tu as appris quelque chose sur moi maintenant que tu as vu mon sac? Même si on déballe tout, on ne dévoile pas grand-chose.
En fait, tu as quand même été un peu révélée par les hommes que tu as aimés, par les films qu'ils ont fait pour toi, les chansons.
Now she was showing the world a new kind of beauty. Without trying, Jane became a style icon in France. People admired how she dressed with ease, like she wasn't trying to impress anyone. Today, we might call it clean girl aesthetic or skinalism, but Jane was doing it long before it had a name. Effortlessness only became the new luxury because Jane made it so.
There and to, I don't know, but this time not. So it took my confidence away completely.
Is your confidence coming back?
No. the confidence is one tiny thing, but she's irreplaceable. And the lack of her will be forever.
Yeah. You have 2 other lovely, successful daughters who you must be very proud of.
Very.
Yeah.
Charlotte has a record coming out right now in a film.
Jane and Serge were never quiet lovers. Their relationship was full of passion, chaos, and public moments that felt like the movie scenes she acted in. One night at a nightclub, Serge did something that humiliated her. He grabbed her handbag and dumped it out in front of everyone. Her private things spilled all over the floor. Jane was shocked and angry. Moments later, someone handed her a custard pie and, without thinking, she smashed it right into Serge's face. He wiped it off and walked out of the club in silence. Jane panicked. She realized she had gone too far. She chased him, heart racing. When she saw him near the river, she did something no one expected. She jumped into the cold, dark Seine, fully clothed with no plan, just emotion. Firefighters had to pull her out. But when she landed in Serge's arms, wet and shivering, he forgave her. Who dives into a river to earn back love? The same girl who'd one day design a handbag the world would worship. By 1980, the chaos had become too much. Serge's drinking wasn't romantic anymore, it was draining. Jane made the hardest decision and left him. She moved on and started a quieter life with a new partner, French filmmaker Jacques Douillon. One day, as Jane was heading to the airport, Jacques accidentally backed his car over her beloved straw basket. It was completely crushed. On the plane to London, still without a proper bag, Jane sat next to a man who noticed her papers falling out. That man was Jean-Louis Dumas, the CEO of Hermès. Jane shared an idea and then sketched it on an airplane vomit bag.
And they upgraded me, the hostess upgraded me, and I found myself next door to a very polite gentleman. And I'd got my agenda, as usual, bang full of bits of paper and everything, and the whole thing fell to the ground. So I picked it up, and he said, you should have pockets in that agenda. And I said, what can you do? Hermès don't make it with pockets. And he said, I am Hermès. I said, oh, then in that case, I'll give you my agenda. If you could make something with a pocket, that would be lovely. I said, why don't you make a handbag that's a bit...
Who knew that what started with lost papers in a sick bag would become a $500,000 0-cents icon?
And not as big as my suitcase, which weighs a ton. And he said, like what? And there was the sort of vomit bag. And so I did a little sketch.
They call it the stomach distress bag.
The stomach distress bag, I beg your pardon. And I did a wee sketch. And he took it with him. And a month later, I got a call from Hermès saying, would I come and have a look at this bag? And it was made out of cardboard. It looked lovely, actually, in cardboard. And I said, you know, this leather would be rather nice, etc. And then when I picked it up, they said, it looks so good.
Yeah.
Can we call it your name after you? Yeah. So I said, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, we've got the Kelly and we've got Monsieur Dumas traveling.
The Birkin bag became one of the most famous fashion items in history, but Jane never treated it like a trophy. She only ever owned one at a time. Hers was scratched and worn, covered in stickers, and filled with her daughter's names. When she learned that some versions were made from crocodile skin, she asked Hermès to take her name off those bags. She also auctioned off her own Birkins to raise money for AIDS research, disaster relief, and luxury was never her goal. Decency was.
It's a pretty big name.
It's a big name, but it's just a big hole. You just have to fill it.
Yes.
That's true, isn't it?
What's it meant for you to sing these songs this way now?
It's like being on the most wonderful velvet cushion. It's like having lived with Cole Porter and him writing songs for you from when I was 20 until his dying day. So he's given me a good turn in that he showed me a way, a way to go on.
Impressively, Jane Birkin passed away on July 16, 2023, in Paris at the age of 76. The country mourned her like royalty, streets filled with music, tributes poured in. But more than sadness, there was admiration. She had lived honestly, softly, and boldly. Her life reminded people that imperfection could be beautiful.
And everything. So he gave me my bag. And I never really followed it up much until much, much later somebody said, you know, your handbag is the bag that is selling the most than any bag or something. And when I went to America, I don't know in what interview, they said, you mean Birkin like the bag? So I said, oh, another bag is going to sing. And I thought, oh gosh, on my obituary it will say like the bag or something. When someone said, what will you be best known for? I said, the bag, could it be? So I expect so.
It is so funny that after all this, you might be known for a bag.
I might. Well, could be worse.
Yes, could be.
Jane didn't become a brand. She became a blueprint of how to live messy, love louder, and never fake effortlessness. How does sporting a Birkin bag make you feel? Ever carried one before? Kindly let us know in the comments.